I'm Ken from Puppywarmer, and we're going to review the oxygen concentrator features and functions. This is our oxygen concentrator. The oxygen concentrator has a humidity vessel that just pops out, and you can put the distilled water in and run the unit. And the first thing we should just tell you is you can really only change the functions when this green normal light is on. So when you turn a unit on, it takes about 90 seconds for it to normalize, and it's doing sampling of the oxygen coming out, and it's making sure that you're running right. And then once you see this green button with normal, you can change the flow rate, you can change to nebulizer, and you can make other adjustments. So if you tap a flow plus button, you adjust to the next whole number. Same thing for the flow minus button. If you tap it, you adjust down to the next whole number. If you hold down the flow plus button or the flow minus button, you adjust by 0.1 liter per minute. If you're going to use the nebulizer function, you just tap the nebulizer button, and tap it again to go back to oxygen. If you tap the SOS button, you might laugh.
Help me. Help me.
And that's really for C-sections when somebody is working on a puppy and they have multiple puppies that need to be resuscitated. They can hit that button and call somebody over. And if you hold down the SOS button, you turn off the light ring around the top. So even though the puppy's eyes are closed, they sleep better with less ambient light. So a lot of breeders will just use the SOS button to check on the puppies in the middle of the night and not disturb anybody else in the house. What an oxygen concentrator does is it takes your room air and it separates out oxygen from nitrogen. It puts the nitrogen back into the room and delivers the oxygen to the puppies. And if the unit is ever separated from power, you will hear an alarm. And that tells you that it does not have power actively at that moment.
Now let's talk about nebulizers. Now the oxygen concentrator actually has a nebulizer feature. Now there's also the handheld nebulizer as well. So what are your recommendations? When do you use the oxygen concentrator nebulizer versus this handheld one where you can just push it on?
Sure. So with the oxygen concentrator, there's an option to put out oxygen out of this port and air out of this port to drive the nebulizer. So when you switch to nebulizing with an oxygen concentrator, you're switching from oxygen to air. So you're not delivering the 90% oxygen into the incubator at that time. And so if it's an occasional thing that happens, this is just fine. This that comes with the oxygen concentrator is just fine. But if you have a brachycephalic breed, or you've often had bacterial pneumonia or aspirated pneumonia, really and truly, this is going to be your 3 a.m. friend when that happens. But let's go over first how to use the air-driven nebulizer. The air-driven nebulizer, there's an access port right here that you can put saline through. And then you use this port down here. And then what's going to happen is you're going to bubble the air through the bottom. And so where the air line goes in and the saline is here, you want the orientation of the unit to be like this. And then simply what you do is you hit the nebulizer button, and there you have it.
And then that just goes into the incubator.
Yes.
But like you mentioned, now the oxygen is not flowing into the incubator. So if you need
that
oxygen, you
That's
want
very
to
true.
use
So
those.
in the case of brachycephalic breeds, and in the case of where you have frequent aspirated pneumonia, you really want to have a nebulizer running and also have the oxygen running, because when they have bacterial or aspirated pneumonia, their lungs aren't operating at full capacity, so enriched oxygen will help them recover faster.